Leadership isn't about never failing. It's about rising every time you do. In this episode, we are going to recap season 12. So whether you're leading a team or business or just yourself through life's toughest challenges, this is where resilience meets action. Because true leadership isn't built in comfort. It's forged in adversity. Stick with us. Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. I'm your host, John Espinosa. We are at the end of another season, and this year is just flying by. So we are wrapping up season 12 in this episode, and I want to say all the seasons are my favorite. This one has really touched my heart for many different reasons. The title of this, or the theme of this season, was A Resilient Leader in Endurance Through Adversity. And personally, I've experienced a lot of adversity in the last probably 6 to 8 weeks. So a lot of times when things are relevant in our lives, especially mine, as I'm talking to you out there in the Go Be Great community, I add a little bit of just vulnerability into my episodes. And I hope that it helps somebody out there going through a similar situation, or maybe it's just beginning, or maybe you're coming out of a challenge in life and you've heard something that may have sparked an idea, may have created a routine, or may have just changed the way or flipped the way that you have thought about your current situation. And that's what we're here to do in the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. We're here to help each other. We are here to lift each other up during these challenging times. Resiliency is forged through experience. And unfortunately, we have to go through those experiences. Those experiences are what create our humanness. They create our uniqueness, and our uniqueness is our superpower. I don't want anybody to ever forget that. Our unique journeys through life are what has created who we are, who we're going to be, how people see us, how we see ourselves. So be proud of your uniqueness. I want every single one of you out there, and you may be driving, you may be working out right now, but I want you to give yourself a pat on the back or just a air high five, because you're awesome. You have achieved so much up to this point in your life. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what experience that you have. Just by you showing up, showing out, taking a little bit of time, investing it in yourself, listening to this podcast, sharing this podcast, listening to other podcasts, spending some time to professionally develop yourself. I see you, I believe in you, and I am proud to be part of the Go Be Great community and walk alongside you. So thank you very much for listening in. In this recap, what I normally do is I'll go through the themes. We break down our episodes into 4 themes within the season. And in this season, we really took a hard look at what it looked like to build resilience. We talk about resiliency, we talk about having resilience, but what exactly does that look like? So one of the episodes that we discussed was practicing daily resilient exercises. For me, it's my gratitude in the morning before I even get out of bed. It's my journaling in the morning. It's making sure that I have an outlet, somebody to talk to. It's supporting others that may be going through a difficult time or a challenge in life, and you don't even have to know about it. There's one thing about humans is that we struggle silently. We celebrate together and we struggle alone. So just reaching out to somebody out of the blue, you never know when you're going to get back that text or that instant message or that phone call that said, "Hey, John, thanks for reaching out. I was going through a hard time. You probably didn't know, but what you said meant a lot. It made my day better." And again, that's what we're here for. We're here to help each other because we can go far and fast alone. But if we don't take anybody with us, if we burn all of the trail behind us, you're going to be lonely at the top. So again, check on each other. Make sure that you are practicing some type of resiliency in your daily life. And that's going to go a long way whenever times take a shift for the bad or a challenge comes up. It's already automatic. It's a habit within you, and you can get through just a little bit easier in that situation to help rebuild that resiliency muscle. The other thing we talked about in building resiliency was through teamwork. How do you do that through teamwork? We talked about a team. And this team, don't think of it as a business sense. It could be your family team. It could be a board that you sit on in your community. It could be your sports team. It could be your study group. Whatever that group of individuals that are going through similar situations, that are tackling issues, that are being exposed to all of life's challenges, we are in it together. And through that, we are better together. So we talked about things like dispersing work, about pairing up, about having that resiliency partner that, you can turn to, that accountability partner, right? We talked about how to create resiliency within the team when times are good. So have those crucial conversations when times are good, when there's not stress on the situation. Have those talks. Teach yourself and teach the team how to have that open communication whenever everything's going well. So when it does take a turn for the worst, you've been there. It's a familiar situation. Our brains understand things that are familiar. So if we practice that, guess what? It's going to be natural for us to talk through that. We're going to see cues. We're going to see behavioral cues in others that we're like, something's off with John. Not just right. Let's check into that. Let's investigate. Make sense? So building resiliency, do that, build that muscle. So that way when times get tough, I'm not saying it's going to be easier. I'm just saying that you will have steps. It will be known to you, and that will just be one less thing that you got to worry about as you go through that obstacle. One of the other topics we talked about was change management, and we discussed some myths here to change management. One of them being, it's just about communication. Too many times I get involved in strategic discussions or reorganizations, whatever that looks like. I'm going through one myself where the culture is changing. The situation is changing. People's lives are changing. And if we just consider communication as the only way for people to understand the change, that's not enough. Communication needs to be a big part of your strategy when it comes to change management, but it doesn't need to be the only thing. So go back and listen to that. We broke that down. We talked about some other strategies. One thing that we talked about also with change management is don't expect it to happen overnight. You're in the long term. People are going to accept, they're going to adopt change differently at different times, and sometimes not at all. So we discussed some strategies about how we can influence and how we can control change management when it comes to, we're in it for the long haul. Find your early adopters, pull them into your group, work with them to see what's not being communicated, where the hiccups are, where you can communicate better to the team. In a family situation, this is something that's very important, especially if there's a life change, especially if there's been a big impact to the family. Make sure that everybody understands their role on how we are all going to move past this, and it will take some time. So don't expect change to happen overnight. And then for you leaders out there, for you mothers, for you fathers, for you team leads, for you, groups, your board, whatever that looks like, don't go about change management alone. This is the time to bring in others into that circle and brainstorm ways that you can communicate change, that you can make sure that change is being adopted. Is there necessary training that you may need to give? Is there a desire for people to change? All of those, you need others to help you see your blind spots. We again are better together. So why would you go through change alone? Lead change together. The third one we talked about, and this is one that's really crucial to building resilience as a leader, is support systems. And all support isn't the same. We need emotional support in times of sorrow. We need practical support whenever we're trying to figure out how to do something. And then that community support when we rely on others, when we rely on those subject matter experts. I've been in training for many, many years, and I can tell you that a lot of things aren't brand new. When we are looking to develop a new training course, we will pull from knowledge, skills, and abilities of past exercises, of past practices, of past trainings to help people understand and make that connection. We as adults, we like to connect things. And when we take known information and connect it to unknown information, it makes that transition a lot easier. So when we talk about support here, we're always pulling from our past experiences. If you're going through a big challenge in your career, on your team, with your family, in school, with your business, you are always going to say, okay, first question, have I experienced this before? Second thing, what did I learn from that experience? Third, what can I take from that experience to apply to this experience? And then you create a plan and then you move to action. You need a support system to help you through that. You may need your emotional support system just to build you up in order to begin to start thinking through that process. You may need your practical support system to figure out what the different tools are. There other things out there that I haven't considered that will help me move past this challenge? And all through that process, we are building resilience. Remember, support systems aren't a two-way street. This goes back to that togetherness. We build resilience together. So don't just expect people to support you when you need it, and then when times are good, you're off just chugging along. Remember to reach back. Remember when things are going well for you, reach back to somebody because you never know where people are at. You never know what's going on in their life. And guess what? Now you've got on the other side of that challenge and you can share your experience through that practical support system. So become a part of the process. This is a cyclical process. It doesn't just end, because I can promise you another challenge will come up. Another obstacle will come around. Another impact to your organization will show up somewhere. And you will need to pivot. You will need to depend on each other to get through that situation. We talked about support systems through digital age and how nowadays it feels like we have more platforms out there than ever. But guess what? A lot of us are still feeling secluded. So how can we use digital platforms, communities, online that can support ourselves offline in our relationships offline? Again, this isn't a one or another option. We do both to support our holistic self. I look for online communities whenever I need support for fixing something around the house or purchasing something around the house. I look for online communities whenever I just completed my 72-hour fast. What are some tips? What are some tricks? What are some obstacles that I can expect out there? Online communities can also support a togetherness. So those gamers out there, we talked about how gaming is a big part of feeling together. You're experiencing, you're going through a similar situation, you're competing. Competition brings out the best of us. So remember, online communities aren't all bad. Now, when you start numbing yourself, scrolling, you get that mindless scroll. That's where we need to have some checks and balances. That's where we need to have some self-awareness to realize that we need to take a step back, get back into our offline communities so that way we can continue on. Don't get stuck in the rut of only depending on one or the other. We can use both to help us grow, to help us get through those challenges, and to help us build resilience. And then one of the last ones we talked about is how to sustain this, how to sustain our resiliency practices, how to sustain our momentum through those challenging times. And a lot of that goes back to purpose. Find your purpose. When we go through changes in life, when I walked up to that door at the restaurant on that Monday morning and I saw that close sign, at that time, My whole entire life felt like it got flipped upside down. And it did. And I had to go out and I had to find another purpose in life. And that allowed me to redirect my energy, to redirect my focus to that purpose. I consider that an experience. I look back at that now and it forged who I am today, because leadership isn't forged and created in comfort. It is built through adversity. We have to go through the challenging times to understand why we are meant to do the things that we are doing. And that may change. And one thing about human beings is we have this incredible ability to adapt. Our bodies adapt. Whenever things try to attack our bodies, what do? They fight them off. Whenever we injure ourselves, what happens? We try to repair ourselves. That's what's going on in our minds. But a lot of times, what our mindset is what our reality is. We don't give ourselves the time to adapt into those situations. So we have to make sure that we shift our purpose, especially in times of challenges. When life is not going well, that is going to create that resiliency muscle and fuel our desire to reach for that new purpose, to strive for that new vision for our family, to make that commitment to ourselves to move forward. Some of us get stuck because we're depending on the old purpose to figure itself out some way. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. We need to go out and we need to reinvent ourselves, create a new purpose, and then figure out what day one looks like. Don't miss 2 days in a row and stay consistent so we can sustain ourselves through change. One thing that we talked about here was daily actions. So what can you do? Revisit your goals on a daily basis. Come up with a to-do list the night before. Everything should be pointing towards your purpose, to that moonshot goal. I think Tony Robbins explains this best, is you don't experience life. You experience the life that you focus on. So where is your focus? Where is your energy being directed? Be mindful of that. Because I know I only have a certain amount of energy to go around, and I don't want to waste any of it. I don't want to waste any of it on ancillary things that are outside of what my true purpose is. So for you out there in the Go Be Great community, remember the life you experience is the life that you focus on. And each one of you out there have what it takes already inside you to go and create the life that you want to create. So I would encourage you to go back, take a listen to this season's episodes. If you are in that spot in life where you just feel like you're on a hamster wheel or that merry-go-round and you're going round and round and round and you're not making any traction, you're not getting anywhere, it seems like the same problems are coming up, the same challenges, you're hearing the same things, at that time it's probably wise to take a look and ask yourself, what is my purpose? Where do I want to go? And how do I want to get there? And who am I bringing with me so that way we can all celebrate together? I believe in you. Go back, take a listen to season 12. Season 13 is coming up. You're not going to want to miss it. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed. Check out all the socials because we're just getting started out there. Go be great. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.